Hey guys, I'm sure you've heard of a pet detective.
Ace Ventura, pet detective. And you must be the Monopoly guy.
But sometimes here at Legacy, I play gun detective because a gun comes in that we have no idea what it is. This one actually is such a gun. This one came from a young man who actually came to the office, and he mentioned that he traded somebody that he knew in order to get this gun. He ended up wanting to trade it for a different gun. He wanted a rifle, and I gladly took this gun because I was intrigued by it. Mostly I was intrigued by the inscription. Let's take a look. Now the inscription on the slide, and I always murder my German, but I actually worked on this one. Gebiets Thuringen 17. Now I know with that umlaut there's that little umlaut, it's actually Thuringen. In German they often move the verb and the nouns around, like into the room come. We say come into the room. In this case, area 17 of Thuringen is actually a place in Germany. We know the Thuringen region. They actually had the Walther factory was there. I believe the Sauer and the Krieghoff factories in Suhl were also in the Thuringen region. In fact, if you look at the legend on any Walther, let's take a close-up on this one. You see it says Waffenfabrik or War Manufacturer Walther. Zelamelis was two towns that merged into one, Zelamelis, and then the THUR, which you might think means Thursday, but actually it is the province of Thuringen. So Gebiets Thuringen 17, or Area 17 in Thuringen, was a specific area in the province of Thuringen. The gentleman that brought it in, I look at the inscription, I was intrigued. I've mentioned many times, I've been collecting for 30 years. I have never seen such an inscription, but it reminded me of an inscription I've seen before, which happens to be on my table. If we take a quick look at this, we can see this is an SA gun. That is the SA symbol on an AK holster. So this is an SA rig. This is also a PP, but this one is in 32 caliber, while this one is in 22 caliber. A beautiful pistol, but the inscription is always on this front strap. I say always, let me back up. I have seen a few where the inscription is on the top of the slide, just like this. The inscription is on the top of the slide. And also a Sauer SA guns, the inscription is on the slide. We're actually going to be doing a video just on SA guns, but a few will have it on there. Most of them are on this front strap. And when we look at the inscription, and I'm going to hold these side by side so you can see them up close, you can see that the font, it might be a little smaller, but the font is almost exactly the same. The word Thuringen is very similar, as if it was done by the same person. Now, these are individually inscribed, and they are over the finish. So somebody individually inscribed these, so every one of them might be a little bit different, but just like handwriting, whoever did this in the Walther factory, it seemed to me, and one of the reasons I bought it, was it seemed to me that this was the same person. So this was actually original, done in the factory during the war. And so that answers one of the first questions I had was, is this inscription a fake? Because obviously anybody could take an engraving machine and do that themselves. But why would they? In other words, if I was going to make a fake, I would take something that was known, such as the SA gun. Those are pretty well known by the collector community. And I would have just inscribed it right here. Why would I inscribe it here in a phrase that I've never seen before after 30 years of collecting? So number one is it's probably real because no one's ever seen one before. Secondly, the inscription has the same font as one that we know is from the factory during the war. And thirdly, part of my being a gun detective, I asked around within the collector community if anyone has ever seen one of these before. And in fact, some of the most knowledgeable people in the United States had never seen one before. And they all questioned, well, who is it for? What was its purpose? What does the inscription mean? All we know is that it went to Area 17 in this specific province in Germany, but who did it actually go to? I did get a gentleman who has written a book, Dieter Marshall. We highly recommend his book. We do offer it on our website, but this is his book. And he found the exact same inscription with a gun that's consecutively numbered to this gun. So if you look at the serial number, you can see that it ends in 399. The one that he observed in Germany is the same serial number, but number 400. So it's one digit off, consecutively numbered to this. So that tells me my detective work indicates that this was most probably done at the factory for a specific reason. So now we have to ask, who did it go to? So if I go back to the gentleman that brought it in, and I did say, where did you get this? He said, I traded my boss for it, and he told me it came from a Nazi Hitler Youth leader. And when he told me that, I just kind of rolled my eyes and said thank you and put it away because I thought, you know, how would he know it came from a Hitler Youth leader? But interestingly, when I asked other collectors about it, they said, well, in Area 17, there was a known Hitler Youth Club. Kind of like in the United States, we have the Boy Scout Club and you have Troop 17. That is a known group. Well, the Hitler Youth Group 17 is a known group in that region of Germany. And it would make sense that a Hitler Youth would have used a pistol like this, although there's no documentation to prove this. We do know that the Hitler Youth did order rifles, 22 caliber rifles, where they would target practice. Again, being in the Hitler Youth, they wanted to train them up to be good soldiers, so they started off with them shooting with 22 caliber rifles. In addition, we have this photograph that we found on the internet. This is Hitler Youth with their cute little shorts on. And they are shooting a 22 caliber Walther. Now that happens to be an Olympia model, so it is not this model, but it is a Target 22. Again, the leader of the group probably would have ordered the guns. They would have been delivered to their group, and when they would come in for their training, they would be made available and then, of course, returned back to the leader. So if indeed, and again, I have no paperwork to prove this went to the Hitler Youth, but one possibility and one theory would be this would be ordered for the Hitler Youth for target practice. 22 caliber, which is a rare caliber, that would make sense because it was used for target practice. So certainly for young boys, a 22 caliber would make sense, but again, we have no documents to prove this. And by the way, the manufacture date on this particular gun was late 42 or early 43. Also, a search on the internet indicates that the leader of the Hitler Youth in Area 17 in 1943 was a man named Gunther Blum. We couldn't find much about him other than he was actually the leader in a couple different areas, but in 1943 promoted and moved to Area 17 in Thuringen. Now let's talk about a second theory, which is also entirely possible. I can't prove it, but I know in my township we have a township building. And you go there to get permits and licenses. Also, the police station is there. That's their headquarters. Their dispatch is out of there. And also, on their grounds in the basement, they have an area where they can target shoot. They have to qualify on their weapons. And in Germany, I actually have carry permits from Germany pre-war and during the war. And on those permits, there's a little place where they have to qualify annually. So if you get a permit, you pass a safety course. You also pass a background check. I'm sure you have to be a member of the Nazi Party, but you also have to qualify at the range on an annual basis. It would make sense that in Thuringen, within a specific region, they might have 1 or 2 pistols, maybe up to 5 pistols, that were owned by the township or by the area, and it was available for target shooting. So in other words, in order to carry a gun, I have to qualify. And so I come to work that day. They have this pistol for Area 17 administration, and I'm part of the administration team. I go down and I qualify on my weapon, and they re-up it for another year. Again, I could bring my own pistol, and I'm sure that would be perfectly fine. But the 22 was used because it was easy to shoot, not much kickback, very accurate, and inexpensive to fire. Now, are there other things that it could be? Absolutely, especially if you're from Germany or you know a lot about what happened during the war. Other theories are welcome, and if you have some, I just know that this is from Area 17. Thuringen was a beautiful alpine region. A lot of people went there for vacation. I actually talked to a man who grew up in that area, and he said we always vacationed in that region of Germany. It was absolutely beautiful, and for some reason they were qualifying on 22s, and I already mentioned their SA guns. They did order 22s, and the reason was that they would qualify on a 22, but probably carry a 32 caliber. So as a detective, even though I didn't answer all your questions, I came up with some really good theories and would love to hear from some of you, especially if you might know something about this gun and who it might have been issued to. Thanks for watching and listening. I love bringing this stuff to you, and I'm sure I'm going to have another interesting gun, because next week we never know what's going to walk in the door. And be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We have a lot more interesting guns coming your way.